Welcome back to day 4 of coming home to yourself. Over the last 3 days, you've been on a remarkable journey. On our first day, you discovered something that many people have forgotten. You have a relationship with yourself. The self at your core has always been there, quietly accompanying you through every experience of your life. Tuesday, we explored how that relationship came to be shaped. We discovered that every one of us has adaptations, not because we're broken, but because we were learning how to be strong, how to be loved, and how to move safely through the relationships that surrounded us. And yesterday, we began to create an internal shift. You discovered that relationships grow through attention. That the more attention you give something, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it becomes, the more easily you recognize it. This is true of the people in your life. And as you begin recognizing the self at your inner core, a relationship can grow. Not because you're becoming someone new, but because you're becoming more familiar with who you have always been. Today, we bring all of those discoveries together because every relationship eventually asks the same question. How will I choose to live from and within this relationship? And that is what today is about. Perfection is an adaptation. Having all the answers is an adaptation. Having to be right all the time is an adaptation. People pleasing is an adaptation. This is not about following old familiar patterns. It is simply about learning what it feels like to bring you with you into every conversation, every relationship, and every choice. Because that is where life is lived. Life is lived with your spouse, your children, your parents, friends, co-workers. Life is lived in all of the small interactions. The person who cuts in front of you at the grocery store or on the highway. The difficult decision you've been trying to make. Conversations you've been putting off. These aren't interruptions in your life. They are your life. And every one of those moments becomes an opportunity to strengthen the relationship you've been rebuilding all week. The relationship with the innermost part of you. Today isn't the end of this journey. In many ways, it's the beginning. Because today isn't about discovering who you are. It's about beginning to live from that relationship within your everyday life, one choice at a time. Every relationship you have changes when you stop leaving yourself behind. And every relationship begins with the relationship you have with yourself. Over the last 3 days, we've been rebuilding one relationship, and that's the one with yourself. You've discovered it's always been there. You've been recognizing many experiences that shaped it, and that every meaningful relationship grows through attention. Today, we're going to add another dimension. Every relationship in your life is lived through the relationship you have with yourself. The way you speak to your spouse, your parents, how you parent your children, the way you interact with friends, lead at work, and care for yourself. I could go on and on and on. Every one of these relationships reflects the relationship you are living within. And as your relationship with yourself grows, every other relationship begins to grow as well. Not because you've learned better communication, because you're bringing more of yourself into every relationship you have. Anybody, whether you're here with me today or whether you're watching this in replay, who has paid any attention to me, knows that love is the foundation of everything I do. And every relationship grows through love, including the one with yourself and all of the ones around you. As you begin listening more deeply to yourself, something very natural begins to occur. The way you move through your relationships begins to change. You may find yourself speaking more honestly, setting a boundary where you never have before, asking for what you need, saying yes with more intention, or saying no with more peace. And the people you love may notice, they will notice these changes. And just as you've spent these last 4 days learning something new, they may need time to adjust as well. Have any of you, even in this brief time that we have been together, noticed that you are showing up differently with those around you as you connect to your inner self? Just remember, they may need time to adjust as well. And change is hard for all of us. Just as your adaptations came in while you were young, but they developed over time. Your relationships has also developed over time. And you need to honor that and come from a place of love. Love for yourself and love and understanding that those around you may see you as changing and now looking false. You're honoring the core within you, but that change may be difficult for them to understand and relate to. So come from a place of love, be gentle with yourself, and be gentle with people who are learning a new way to relate to you. Your goal isn't to wake up tomorrow and become a completely different person. Your goal is simply to bring a little more of yourself into each and every relationship, one conversation at a time, one decision at a time. You get to decide, one honest moment at a time. And I want to say one more thing about your adaptations. Please don't think of them as something you have to throw away. They've walked beside you for a very long time. They've protected you, helped you belong, and they have helped you survive seasons of life that required tremendous strength. Honor them. Thank them for what they've given you. And then as your relationship with yourself grows, allow them to take a different seat. Not because they no longer matter, but because you've grown into someone who can lovingly choose when they're needed and when another way of responding better reflects who you're becoming. And again, I want you to kind of see them as a council. You're at the head of the table. You do the listening. You do the questioning. They give you input. You choose. The self at your core chooses. What is familiar is always going to feel the most comfortable. It isn't always what serves you the best. You know, a lot of times people come to me, and one of the things they're afraid of as they venture on this journey is losing the relationships that matter to them. And one of the ways that you can help prevent that is by not making it black and white. Again, it's choosing. When you instantly, if you've had no boundaries and you instantly set 10,000 boundaries, the people in your life are going to think that you just turned into a real bee. But if you set a boundary and you hold it firm and gently, they will adapt. After that it becomes a norm, you can set another boundary. You decide what is important to you. Because if no boundaries, people pleasing is one of your big adaptations. Setting a boundary is going to be really, really tough for you. And sometimes the easiest way to do things is to jump in with both feet and go all the way. And that is going to alienate people you don't want to lose from your life. This is not about becoming someone that is spiritually poisonous. This is about honoring yourself and honoring those that you care about. And there are those who may never be able to accept that the person that they knew you as was not the self at your core, and that what they were dealing with was an adaptation. They won't ever know the terminology, and that doesn't matter. But they may never understand that the person that they were dealing with was not the self at the core. And at that point, you need to decide, are you comfortable interacting with them from that adaptation? Or is it time to release that individual? Sometimes life doesn't allow us to make these choices on our timetable, and we need to stay within that adaptation to stay safe until we are in a position to make a different decision. But we know what we're doing. We are making a choice We are still coming from the self at our core, making a choice as to how we want to go forward. So I lost my place. My apologies, guys, if I repeat myself. Your adaptations have walked beside you for a very long time. They've protected you, helped you belong, and they have helped you survive seasons of life that require tremendous strength. Honor them. Thank them for what they've given you and will continue to give you. And then, as your relationship with yourself grows, allow them to take a different seat. Not because they no longer matter, but because you've grown into someone who can lovingly choose when they're needed and when another way of responding better reflects the person you're becoming. I become the one in relationship with all of them. Say that. I become the one in relationship with all of them. Type it in the chat. I become the one in relationship with all of my aspects. I become the one in relationship with all of them. Come on, guys. There we go. Yes. Life isn't asking you to choose one voice and silence all the others. It's inviting you to become the one who sits at the table with all of them. You listen, you consider, you pay attention, you discern, and then you choose. Sean was going to share a little bit about how this has worked in his life.
For one thing, those of you who know me may have heard about my anger issues. I do not shy away from stating that I have anger problems. And through the work we've done, I've gone from being needed to be told that I'm doing things and that I'm losing control of my temper daily to sometimes weekly, sometimes even bi-weekly, which which is part of what the work shows you.
Progress is not instantaneous. It is work, and it is choice, and it is checking in. Any others, Sean? And then I'll do my own sharing.
The other big one, the adaptation I got from my father. I'll say whatever it is and then ignore the responsibility of actually doing it. Nowadays, I'm getting closer and closer to actually fulfilling my requirements.
And I will say, watching this growth within your son is really amazing. And being able to be more in touch with who he is has been amazing. For me, well, I had no idea what aspects were or any of this, I knew that I was people pleasing and I was doing everything that everybody else wanted. But there was another piece too. You know, there is familiarity in being abused. And I went, and there's also a lot of fear that goes with being the victim. There's fear and there's power in being the victim. And I played those two adaptations together, going from one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next. And every one played out exactly the same way. And it wasn't until I started listening to myself and what I really wanted in life that I was able to get off that cycle and stop doing the same behaviors and start paying attention internally so that I wouldn't just keep on that cycle of men that were the exact same man with a different face and a different body. And it took way too many tries. And then I stopped and I decided that it was time to sit at the table. I didn't know I was sitting with my adaptations, but to sit at the table and learn to hear me. And it took me about 7 years because I didn't have a teacher at the time. I didn't have most of what I needed. But I did have a very strong desire to change my life. And by the time I was willing to place myself out there again, I was unwilling to accept a relationship that was exactly the same as all the ones I had had before. So remember, life isn't asking you to choose one voice and silence all the others. It's inviting you to simply become the one who sits at the table with all of them. You listen, you consider, you pay attention, you discern, and then you choose. Your fear has wisdom. Your perfectionism may notice important details. Each of your adaptations may remind you of experiences that you've lived through. Your intuition may offer a perspective that you hadn't considered, and you have no idea where it's coming from. None of them are the decider, and none of them make the decision. They are part of the conversation. You are the one who lives in relationship with all of them. And by the way, I'm not saying that your intuition is an adaptation. However, it still sits at the table. And that is what sovereignty feels like. So every choice you make strengthens the relationship between you and yourself. And relationships are not built in one extraordinary moment. They're built through ordinary moments, repeated over time. Every time you pause before answering, every time you check in with yourself, every time you notice what you are feeling, every time you choose with intention, you strengthen the relationship you've been building throughout these 4 days and continuing. and something remarkable begins to happen. Checking in with yourself becomes natural. Listening becomes natural. Discernment becomes normal. Choosing just becomes what you do, not because you've memorized a process, because you've cultivated a relationship. So, over the last 4 days, we've discovered several things. There is one that I believe changes everything. Your life is about relationships, and they start with you. You are not broken. You are not lost. And you have now gotten in touch with your inner voice and learned to identify when you are living from adaptations. You don't have to get rid of fear. You don't have to eliminate people pleasing. You don't have to defeat perfectionism. Most of all, you are not becoming somebody new. You simply become the one who is in relationship with all of it. You listen, consider, pay attention, discern, and then you choose. That is what sovereignty looks like. Not because life becomes easier, but because you are no longer leaving yourself behind while you're living it. The truth is, this isn't something we master in 4 days. It's something we practice and deepen over time, returning to again and again until it simply becomes the way we live. And that is why Sean and I continue doing this work every single month with people who choose to walk with us. Relationships that work exist so that you experienced here doesn't become a wonderful memory. It becomes your way of life. Each month, we meet together 4 times. You'll work privately with me as we continue to strengthen your relationship with yourself, healing old patterns and supporting the places where you're still growing. You'll also meet privately with Sean, whose gift is helping people develop extraordinary clarity, discernment, and confidence in what they know. And many of your sessions will include us both because we each bring such strong and unique gifts that your growth is often the strongest when we are both present. And Sean is over on one side of me, but he may not be there for you guys.
Mm.
When deeper transformation is needed, we gather in fire ceremonies for clearing, retrieval, and profound energetic work. No 2 months will ever look exactly alike because your life won't look the same every month. Some months you'll need healing. Some months will be growth months. Some months you'll need more support. There may be months you'll simply need someone to remind you not to leave yourself behind. And that's exactly what we're here to do. Between sessions, we're available during business hours because life doesn't wait until your next appointment. When something shifts or an old adaptation suddenly shows up and you don't recognize what it is until afterwards, when you're standing in the middle of a difficult decision and you simply need another perspective, we're here to help you navigate it. One of my favorite parts is every 3 months, you will receive a crystal or custom piece created specifically for you, for your energy and your next stage of growth. And creating these for you is one of my favorite parts of what I do. And I wear a couple of my pieces all the time. Um, Today, I'm wearing one that helps with my energy flow. The depression and anxiety that you hear me talk about have never fully left. It's hormonal. It has nothing to do with my emotions. It has to do with my physiology at this point. However, it has an emotional outlet. So even though I'm feeling really good, I support myself with a depression and anxiety necklace. rose quartz, amethyst, lepidolite, moonstone. I'm also wearing this one, which is for protection. This one has tiger eye, which is physical protection. You know, I'm a teacher, and that I love doing that. Sean and I are both healers. But what I really am, what I identify as, is a spiritual warrior. So protection is always necessary. And then one of my favorite tektites, not a crystal at all, is moldavite. And it is about moving towards who you're supposed to become, who you came here to be. And it's one of my favorites to wear. So these are not a keepsake. It's an energetic companion, purposely designed for the journey you are living. Sometimes it may be a crystal that sits on your desk or beside your bed, if that is more appropriate for you. If this week has helped you remember something about yourself and you've begun rebuilding a relationship you don't want to lose, if you've realized that the life you've been longing for begins by coming home to yourself and no longer leaving yourself behind, then I'd love to invite you to continue walking with us. I also know that some of you may be sitting there with questions. They may be about whether this feels right. More likely, they're about what's really possible. You may be wondering, what if I go home and lose this feeling? I understand that. How many times have you been to an amazing seminar and gone home to have all the gains simply disappear? I know that 4 days can feel like a beautiful experience, and it's natural to wonder what happens when real life begins. And that's exactly why relationships that work exists, to help you continue living what you've begun here. Or you may be thinking, I can do this on my own. And maybe you can. Many people do continue growing on their own. The question isn't whether you can. The question is whether you'll be giving this relationship with yourself the same attention once life becomes busy again. Because relationships grow through attention and habits are strong and comfortable. You may also be wondering, what if I really change and the people around me don't understand? That fear is real, and most of my clients come to me with it. I won't downplay this one. Whenever we stop leaving ourselves behind, our relationships naturally begin to change. Not because we're becoming someone different, because we're finally allowing people to know the person who has been there all along. This is one of the most difficult hurdles, and it is possible to navigate and keep those important relationships intact without sacrificing yourself. Maybe you're wondering, what if I slip back into my own old patterns? You know what? You probably will. We all do. Growth isn't about never returning to an old adaptation or an old pattern. It's about recognizing it sooner, remembering who you are, and making a different choice. Or perhaps the voice you're hearing says, I don't have time. Sometimes what that really means is, I don't know if I'm allowed to make my relationship with myself this important. If that's you, I simply invite you to sit with that for a little while. Because over these last 4 days, we've discovered something beautiful. Every relationship in your life changes when your relationship with yourself changes. And finally, some of you may be wondering, what if this week was just a beautiful experience and I can't actually live this way? All I can tell you on this one is I don't believe that's true. I believe this week has simply shown you what is possible. And if you'd like help making it your way of life, Sean and I would be honored to walk beside you. The investment is $777 per month. There is no required length of commitment. Stay as long as it supports your growth. Because this has never been about becoming someone different. It's about continuing to come home to yourself. DM me relationship to find out more. I'll get back to you and we'll get to know each other. Then I'll share about our process, how it works, how you get signed up, and then we'll decide if it's a fit. This is not a sales call or high pressure ever. I am never high pressure because I don't want to work with anyone who doesn't want to be there. And if you have a question, ask me. I'm right here. So, everyone who is here, I'm not looking for questions on what I just went over, but over everything that we have done today. Does anybody have any questions before we move into the experience? And feel free to come off mute if you do. It looks like we're good. So I'm going to give you a 5-minute break. We will come back at 9:50 and go into our experience. We will go probably till about 10:15 or so today. So before we actually begin the recording, begin the experience, I wanted to let everybody here know that I had a request for a meditation that would help you connect to your inner self, sit at the table with the aspects, and have just a very brief, short meditation where you could connect, have that conversation, connect to yourself, and make your decision. So that will be coming out within the next week as a follow-up to this event. So that is a special bonus that everybody who signed up for the event will be receiving. And I hope you find it helpful because I think that it really will be. And I'm going to try to keep it between 5 and 10 minutes so that it's quick and easy to do at those points where you need to make a decision. So, are you ready for our experience today? Bringing yourself with you. So before we begin, I want you to take a slow, comfortable breath. And another. There's nothing you need to discover today. Nothing you need to fix. You're not trying to become anything. Over the last 4 days, you've already done the work. Today is simply an opportunity to experience what it feels like to live from the relationship you've been rebuilding. Allow your breathing to settle into its own natural rhythm. Feel the chair supporting you. Notice your feet resting on the floor. Simply become aware of yourself right here, right now. I'd like you to imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You know, you're not at a retreat and you don't have this event to come to. It's just an ordinary morning. You wake up in your own bed. You move through your usual routine. Perhaps you make coffee. Maybe the house is quiet, or it could already be busy. Nothing extraordinary is happening. It's simply your life. As you move through your morning, notice something. You are here, not rushing ahead, not replaying yesterday, simply being present with yourself. As the day unfolds, someone asks something of you. Perhaps it's your spouse, maybe a child, or a friend or a coworker. Maybe it's a stranger. It doesn't matter who. Simply imagine someone asking something of you. Notice your first reaction. Maybe you immediately know your answer. Maybe uncertainty appears. Maybe an old familiar adaptation begins speaking. Perhaps fear. Perhaps people pleasing. Perhaps perfectionism. It could be the desire to avoid conflict. Just notice whatever it is without judgment. And no, nothing has gone wrong. Every part of you is simply doing what it has always done. Now, replay it. Instead of immediately responding, pause. Take one slow breath. And remember the relationship you've been rebuilding. Notice your body. What are you feeling? What is important to you? What feels true for you in this moment? You don't need a perfect answer. You aren't trying to please anyone or prove anything. You're simply allowing yourself to be present. This is only for you. Now listen inward. Hear everything, possibly with your ears, or maybe simply as an inner knowing. Fear may have something to say. Experience may have something to say. Logic may have something to say. Love may have something to say. Your deepest knowing may have something to say. Each of these has a place at the table. Allow each voice to be heard. You don't need to silence any of them. You simply listen. And as you listen, notice something beautiful. There is a quiet awareness holding all of it. A steady presence. The one who has been growing stronger all week. The one who listens. The one who considers, discerns. The one who chooses. Take another breath. And from that place, allow yourself to respond. Not because someone else chose for you or an adaptation reacted for you, because you remained with yourself. Notice how that feels. There may be peace. There may still be uncertainty. There may even be fear. And that's okay. The goal was never to eliminate fear or to become perfect. The goal was simply this. You stayed with yourself. Now allow that moment to gently fade. Watch the rest of your day unfold. A conversation with a friend. A decision that has to be made. A laugh. A challenge to be solved. A quiet moment alone. Is it enjoyable or stressful? Notice how different your day feels. Not because the world changed, but because you brought yourself with you. Take a moment now to think about someone you love. See them clearly. Perhaps it's your spouse, a child, a parent, or a dear friend. May even be a pet. As you look at them, or simply know that they are there with you energetically, silently offer them kindness and send them love. Remember, they are growing too. Just as you've needed time to learn new ways of relating, they may need time as well. Allow your heart to soften. You can change slowly or quickly. You simply continue showing up with honesty, with compassion, with love, and with yourself. Take one final slow breath and notice the relationship that you've been rebuilding, not as an idea, as something you can feel. This relationship will continue growing, one conversation, one decision, one ordinary moment at a time. When you're ready, gently begin bringing your awareness back to the room. Notice the chair beneath you, the sounds around you. Take one more comfortable breath. And as you open your eyes, carry one simple intention with you. Whatever today brings, bring yourself with you. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share after that experience?
I think for me personally, this is my favorite of the experiences over the days.
And why?
It felt like I got to a quieter spot in myself than I normally can access.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, the experiences had to grow one on the other. So I love that. Thank you for sharing, Cynthia. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I feel like today was a solid reminder to quit forgetting about myself.
That's what these 4 days have been.
Mm-hmm.
Find that self at your core.
Yep.
You matter. As we finish today, I don't want you leaving with a list of things to remember. I hope you leave with one simple practice. Bring yourself with you into every conversation, every decision, every relationship. Pause, listen, consider, discern, choose. And every time you do, you'll strengthen the most important relationship you'll ever have. Hello, Lucky. Over these 4 days, we've talked about the relationship you have with yourself. Some of you may call it your authentic self. Some of you may call it your deepest knowing. Some of you may call it your intuition. Some may recognize it as your soul. The name has never been the important part. The relationship is. Because when that relationship becomes the foundation of your life, every other relationship begins to change. And that is what it means to come home to yourself. I appreciate everyone who has given their time to be here and to share this experience with us, and everyone who is watching it on replay. Please, if you're watching on replay, reach out to me. Just send me some revelation, some feeling, something that you receive from this event. I would love to hear and connect. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you both.
Thank you.